Yes. So thank you, Kellyanne. Welcome, everyone. My name is Irma Lawrence. I'm the National Program Leader for the Alaska Native Serving and Native Hawaiian Serving Education's Grant Program, and I welcome you to this webinar for fiscal year 2023. Next slide. The webinar will be recorded. Please, you should have your microphone off. If you have problems with Zoom, this is the number to contact. Throughout the presentation, you might type questions in the chat box or use the question and answers feature. At the end of the presentation, we're gonna give you the opportunity to raise your hand and address or ask questions verbally. So first, the recording and will be posted on this website once we are done and make sure it is 508 compliance. Next slide. So required by law, here's the non-discrimination statement. I'm gonna give you a minute or so to read it. And it gives you information of the with the law and how to reach us to present a complaint and so on and so forth. Here we are, your lovely program staff, Kellyanne and myself. Kellyanne, you want to say hello again?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Kellyanne Jones-Jamsgard. Happy to see some familiar names in the attendee list, and welcome to anyone new to NIFA. I'm the program specialist for the ANNH program, and I'm happy to assist anyone with questions or concerns as they submit applications to the program, or any other general questions about NIFA. Feel free to reach out.
Thank you. Next slide. Here's the agenda for today. We're gonna give you a brief NIFA overview, an overview of the program, details on the request for application, proposal evaluation process, other funding opportunities at NIFA, and additional information and resources that we think it will be helpful to you. NIFA overview. Well, NIFA is the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, and what we do is we are the extramural arm of the agency, of the department, and USDA's Research, Education, and Economics mission area. And what we do is we invest in and support initiatives that ensure the long-term viability of agriculture. What we do at NIFA is we provide funding and strategic leadership for programs that ensure groundbreaking discoveries in agriculture-related sciences and technologies reach the people who can put them into practice. Again, we provide you with the funding to carry out the activities, and these investments are directed to research, education, and extension. Next slide. Topics covered by NIFA programs. Here's a list. It's not exactly and complete, but it's just to give you an idea of the topics you could write applications on. One of the things we're trying to do today is encourage you to send more applications and to cover all these topics, or some of them. Next slide. NIFA Science Institute. NIFA is divided in 4 institutes: the Bioenergy, Climate and Environment, Production and Sustainability, Food Safety and Nutrition, Youth and Family and Communities. Next slide. USDA strategic priorities. I'm writing this because this is important. It relates to the institute, but also relates to the topics we would like to receive applications on. So the 4 of the 5 strategic priorities are listed here: addressing climate change via climate smart agriculture, forestry and renewable energy, advancing racial justice, equity, and opportunity, creating more and better markets for producers and consumers at home and abroad, and tackling food and nutrition insecurity and food safety. So these are the priorities in our plan. So while you're thinking of what kind of application you're gonna write, we would like them to be related to these strategic priorities. Next slide. Program overview. The Alaska Native Serving and Native Hawaiian Serving Education Grants Program, the deadline this year is March 28th, and all grants are due at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Last year we had a couple of problems with a couple of grantees in general, not necessarily you, but see the time change and time difference to make sure your application arrives by 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, not 5:01, not 5:02, not 5:05, 4:59 or 5 o'clock. You have about 60 days or since the release of the RFA. So please make sure you take your time and don't leave it for the last minute. There's always things that happen at the last minute, and we don't want to make sure once you have been working in a proposal, we could review it and consider it for funding. The program code is RD and the assistant listing number is 10.228. And as you know, this year we're going to have $5 million. So we need an increased number of proposals this year to use up all the monies. The NIFA website where the grant application is listed here. Next slide. Purpose of priorities: promote and strengthen the ability of you to carry out activities in education, applied research, and related community development programs. Enhance educational equity for underrepresented students. Strengthen institutional education capacities, including libraries, curriculum, faculty, scientific instrumentation, instruction delivery systems, and student recruitment and retention in order to respond to the needs in the food and ag sciences. And the needs in the food and ag sciences in your area, they could expand to the whole mainland and globally. Attract and support undergraduate and graduate students from underrepresented groups and prepare them for careers related to food, agriculture, and natural resources systems, including mentoring of K-12 students. And we also would like you to maximize the development and use of resources to provide food and ag science education programs at your institution. Next slide. Here's a list of food and cultural sciences. I think, we're studying animal health, production and well-being, plant health production, all these things, food safety, soil, water, forestry, horticulture, home economics, rural, human ecology, youth development, and agricultural education, markets for agricultural commodities and products, biotechnology, big data related to agriculture, in zoology, all these things that are disciplines that we cover. If you could think of a discipline that is not here, please consult to us as you see if it's related to the work we do. Next slide. Eligibility, individual, public, and or private nonprofit Alaska Native Serving and Native Hawaiian Serving institutions of higher education. The Alaska Native Serving institutions requires undergraduate enrollment of at least 20% of Alaska Native students. And the Native Hawaiian Serving, the undergraduate enrollment requirement is of at least 10% Native Hawaiian students. Primary applicants must submit certification of eligibility. And fiscal year 2023 the designation as an eligible institution letter on the Title III, comma, Part A form Department of Education will work, a notice of award letter for a Title III, Part A grant from the Department of Education, or a certification letter from the authorized representative. So if your institution meets these enrollment requirements, your authorized representative could certify if you don't have one of the type of letters described in this slide to show your eligibility. Next slide. Here's the eligibility university system or public system of higher education that are separately accredited. So you're doing, working on collaboration, or how could you identify that it's not a satellite campus? So if you're individually accredited, then you could be considered as separate institutions. 2 or 4 year independent branch campuses that are geographically and administratively distinct from the main campus, and collaborative arrangements can include state government, private sector, and non-Alaska Native and Hawaiian organizations. Next slide. Application submission and award limitations. A lead institution is limited to the submission of one standard and one collaborative grant, but since the funds increase this year, we need to amend this slide to say this is per institution. So we need to amend this slide to add a couple of things. Only 2 awards can be made to the same lead institution, one standard and one collaborative. So therefore, if we were to have $5 million, we could make 2 awards as a collaboration and one standard, or 1 collaboration and 3 standard applications. Therefore, we need a larger number of applications if we have a limit of 1 standard and 1 collaborative per institution. So as your funding increases, we need more participation to take advantage of the funds available for Alaska and the funds available for Hawaii. Next slide. Project types and grant types. The project types are education, teaching, extension, applied research, and integrated projects, which means 2 or more of the project types above. And the grant types are standard and collaboration. Next slide. The project need areas for the teaching education haven't changed. It's the same: curriculum design, materials development, faculty preparation and enhancement for teaching, instructional delivery systems, scientific instrumentation for teaching, student experiential learning, student recruitment, retention, and educational equity. Next slide. Project needs areas for extensions are listed here: informative education to increase food and ag literacy, increase understanding of use of food and agricultural science data, information and programs, build science-based capability to engage audiences and enable informed decision-making, develop new applications of instructional tools and curriculum structures that increases technical competency and ensures global competitiveness. Offer non-formal learning programs that increase accessibility to new ideas and technologies that are appropriate for community development, and the development programs leading to actions that protect and enhance the nation's food supply, agricultural productivity, environmental quality, community vitality, and our public health and well-being. So all these, they're very related to our the 4 main priorities, USDA priorities that we listed before. Next slide. Project need areas for research is the expansion of of the findings of fundamental research to uncover practical ways in which new knowledge can be advanced to benefit individuals and society. And investigators from 2 or more disciplines might collaborate to address a common problem. Your geographical location is specific to yourself. So if you have research interesting in addressing common problems in your state, this is a good opportunity, for funding to doing so. Next slide. Standard grant. The standard grants support targeted original projects, which means, don't send us the same project. We need to move forward. What is the next step of and build upon what the things you have done before? Any eligible ANNH institution may partner with another institution that meets the requirements or a non-ANNH. It's up to you in the standard grant. The budget will range from $150,000 to $475,000 total per project, and the time frame is 36 to 48 months. And we're moving towards, encouraging to submit 48 months fund projects, basically because many times we require a no-cost extension, and it's easier for the project to continue if we had the 4 years already listed as part of the plan. Next slide. A collaborative grant, what do we mean by that? Well, these type of grants should build linkages to generate a critical mass of expertise, skill, and technology to address education, teaching, extension, research, or integrated programs related to the food and agricultural sciences. By that, what I mean is together, more than one institution working together, you have more students, more technology, more expertise, and could reach out more students to complete activities in teaching, extension, research, or integrated projects. Eligibility for the collaborative grants is a group of 2 or more ANNH 7 institutions forming a linkage arrangement. Can also include state government, private sector, non-ANNH institutions. The budget for this type of project is from $300,000 to $1 million per project, per 36 or 48 months. So this is total, not per year. That's, I just wanted to add that. Next slide. Co-share, there's no matching requirement. Matching resources would not be factored into the review process as an evaluation criteria. Next slide. Application details. The RFA, again, this is the website. It's available at the NIFA, the funding opportunity. If you do type in the search icon, Alaska Native Hawaiian, we probably will take you to a list of options, and this page will be on your choices. As I said before, application deadline is March 28th. The funding is $5 million. Program code and assistant learning number is 10.228. Next slide. In the details, okay. So the project summary, it's a 1 page where you actually write a good summary of all the activities that are going to take place, including the participants, your collaborators, the areas of needs that you'll be addressing, as well as the USDA priority that we'll be addressing. The project narrative has a 23-page limit. and will be enforced this year. We need the applications to be double spaced 12 point times New Roman to facilitate reading. And this includes text, figures, and tables on the page limit. Also, one of the things that we get asked a lot is, could we use single spacing for tables and figures? And the answer is yes, it facilitates reading. So those are the things that we want to make sure that you cover in the narrative. Right here to the right side, potential for advancing the quality of education, approach and cooperative linkages, plan of operation, methodology, timetable, products, results, and outcomes, evaluation plans, dissemination plans, institutional capability and capacity building, key personnel and budget and cost effectiveness. All these things on the 23 page limit. Double space unless they're tables and figures, then you can use single space. The logic model and plan of work is required for collaboration projects and a data management plan. We also need to include in the application the expected outcomes. If you were to be resubmitting an application, you must include a response from the previous review and address all the concerns that were presented in the previous comments from the reviewers. Next slide. The data management plan. Please don't forget to include one. Investigator must provide a detailed up to 2 pages business and data management plan, which includes expected data type. You know, we want to know what you're trying to collect, the data format, data storage and preservation, data sharing, protection, and public access, and roles and responsibility. Who's going to be responsible for collecting and keeping this data secure? You can also get more information on the data management plan on the link listed below. And next slide. Application submission. NIFA only accepts electronic submissions of applicants. NIFA grant applications guide is available on the website listed here. One thing we want to make sure, and we think we're getting very good at this in this program, is to submit all documents in PDF format, portable document format, to be accepted by NIFA, including the narrative and budget justifications. Grants.gov may allow you to use other formats, but NIFA system does not. We won't be able to read your document if they're not in PDF format. So as a recommendation, do not use third-party PDF builders because they're not going to work with our system. Next slide. Duplicate applications. Now and then, sometimes clicks the submit button a couple of times, and we have, duplicate applications. But sometimes we have people that send applications that are very similar, and we are looking for the things and making sure we don't fund efforts that are duplicate or overlap substantially with efforts already funded or to be funded by NIFA or other organization. Applications may only be submitted to NIFA one time in the same funding cycle. Submission of duplicate applications concurrently for review for more than one program in the same funding cycle will result in exclusion of the application. You could see NIFA's policy guide if you click on the link associated to these blue letters. Next slide. Proposal evaluation process. You probably have seen this before. One of the things we want to recommend you to become a panelist. All proposals are assigned for review to at least 3 reviewers with expertise in the proposed topic. Reviewers will produce individual reviews for each proposal, evaluating the strengths and weaknesses. These written reviews are then used to begin panel discussions with other reviewers serving on the peer review panel. Through these discussions, peer review panelists come to a consensus on the final rating and ranking of the proposals. So it's a 4 steps process right here. Next slide. Evaluation criteria and the potential for advancing the quality education, approach and cooperative linkages, capability, institutional capability and capacity building, key personnel, budget, and cost effectiveness. And one of the things we ask you to do in the narrative is to address these points of concern, because you're going to be evaluated based on these evaluation criteria. Next slide. Timeline for competitive programs. Here we have the first step is, the RFA release and working on the proposal. The second step is the review the proposals, and the third step is the finishing the review and finalizing the award. So on an average, a competitive program takes about 4 to 7 months for the proposal, from the proposal to date to the time we execute and complete the award process. So therefore, thinking of that, how late is it gonna be and when can I start the project once funded? So we recommend that you you establish your start date August 2023, but before September 30. So between August and September, we need you to put or use some day somewhere in there as your beginning of the execution of the project. Reach out to program staff if you don't receive a confirmation of application receipt from NIFA within 30 days of RFA deadline. What do we mean by that? Once you submit the application, just almost, within a few minutes, you will get a confirmation from grants.gov mentioning that they received your application. Staff will be accepting those applications into our system, and it will take up to 30 days for us to do so. So if if 30 days go by and you haven't received a confirmation email from us, call us. I don't mean call us, a week after you submit the application. As I said, give us 30 days since the deadline for us to make sure we do a quick review of your application and actually submit it to the panel team for review. Next slide. And the reason for the September 30th restriction is because our year ends at that time. Your year, the 2023 cycle ends at that time. Okay, so let's move a little bit to talk about some additional information that we have here for you. We recommend that you take a look at the projects we have funded before, even Alaska, Hawaii, or other states regarding and in your desired area of study or discipline. Next slide. We have two pieces of information here that some of you are using, but we want to make sure that everybody's using. It's the NIFA events calendar, and there you can find upcoming deadlines, meetings, and webinars. And the other information that is important for us to share with you is the application release calendar. So you can find when the different RFAs are listed. Some of you already know of some programs that are existing, but sometimes you go into the calendar and find new programs that you did not know existed. Next slide. Okay, other resources from funding opportunities, competitive grants, grant resources, policy guides, indirect costs, a guide for preparation and submission of an NIFA application via grants.gov, and information on awarded grants. So all these links are very important for us to know that you know. Okay, next slide. And again, as I said before, volunteer to be a reviewer. It gives you an opportunity to become an insider and what happens to your application. The other, it will give you the great opportunity to better understand the review process to improve your grant writing. Network with NIFA program staff and other research education partners. So you could partner and learn from all and everyone around you that is working in the discipline that you are working on. Nearby, you could actually meet people, and who knows, maybe the people that you meet during peer panel are going to be your next collaborators. So consider again being a peer panel member. Okay, next.